Hi, my name is Paisley Rekdal. I'm Utah's Poet Laureate. I'm going to be reading 3 poems today. The first is by May Swenson, one of America's most prominent poets of the 20th century. She was born in Logan, Utah in 1913. She was the daughter of Swedish immigrants, which I think is important to this poem. She grew up speaking Swedish, in fact. The other thing to know about her is that she lived in New York City, who was a very prominent book editor for a while, and lived with her partner, a woman named R.R. Knudsen, who wrote children's books. This is one of her most anthologized poems, most famous. It's called Feel Me. Feel me to do right, our father said on his deathbed. We did not quite know, in fact, not at all, what he meant. His last whisper was spent as through a slot in a wall. He left us a key, but how did it fit? Feel me to do right. Did it mean that, though he died, he would be felt through some aperture or by some unseen instrument our dad just then had come to know? So, to do right always we need but feel his spirit. Or was it merely his apology for dying? Feel that I do right and not trying, as you insist, to stay on your side. There is the wide gateway and the splendid tower, and you implore me to wait here with the worms? Had he defined his terms, and could we discriminate among his motives, we might have found out how to do right before we died, supposing he felt he suddenly knew what dying was. You do wrong because you do not feel as I do now, was maybe the sense. Feel me and emulate my state, for I am becoming less dense. I am feeling right for the first time. And then the vessel burst, and we were kneeling around an emptiness. We cannot feel our Father now. His power courses through us, yes, but he, the chest and cheek, the foot and palm, the mouth of oracle, is calm. And still we seek his meaning. Feel me, he said, and emphasized that word. Should we have heard it as a plea for a caress, a constant caress, since flesh to flesh was all that we could do right if we would bless him? The dying must feel the pressure of that question, lying flat, turning cold from brow to heel, the hot cowards there above protesting their love and saying, "What can we do? Are you all right?" While the wall opens and the blue night pours through. What can we do? We want to do what's right. Lie down with me and hold me tight. Touch me. Be with me. Feel with me. Feel me to do right. The next poem I want to read is by a poet who lived for a time in Salt Lake City, Utah. His name is Larry Levis. He too was one of the most prominent poets in America during the 1990s to early 2000s. He died when he was 49 of a sudden aneurysm, I think, or a heart attack, I'm not sure. But he was a very popular professor at the University of Utah, and he was one of my favorite poets. In fact, he's one of the reasons I moved to Utah. This is a shorter poem. He tends to write long, and it's called The Oldest Living Thing in L.A. At Wilshire and Santa Monica, I saw a possum trying to cross the street. It was late. The street was brightly lit. The possum would take a few steps forward, then back away from the breath of moving traffic. People coming out of the bars would approach, as if to help it somehow. It would lift its black lips and show them the reddened gums, the long row of incisors, teeth that went all the way back beyond the flames of Troy and Carthage, beyond sheep grazing rock-strewn hills, fragments of ruins, and the grass at San Vitale. It would back away delicately and smoothly, stepping carefully as it always had. It could mangle someone's hand in 20 seconds, mangle it for good. It could sever it completely from the wrist in 40. There was nothing to be done for it. Someone or other probably called the LAPD, who then called animal control, who woke a driver, who then dressed in mailed gloves, the kind of things small knights once wore into battle, who gathered together his pole with a noose on the end, a light steel net to snare it with, someone who hoped the thing would have vanished by the time he got there. I love that poem. It's such a strange poem. And the last poem I'm going to read is one by me because I'm an egomaniac. This is a poem called Driving to Santa Fe, and the only thing you need to know about this poem Like Larry Levis's poem, it's also a poem about an animal, and it was about suddenly coming upon an animal in a way that I never expected, and what it means to see an animal and to have an animal see you. Driving to Santa Fe. Quick swim up through the headlights, gold eye a startle in black, green swift glance raking mine. A full second we held each other, gone. Gone. And how did I know what to call it? Lynx, the only possible reply, though I'd never seen one. The car filling with it, moonlight, pinion, a cat's acrid smell of terror. How quickly the gray body fled, swerving to avoid my light. And how often that sight returns to me, shames me to know how much more this fragment matters. More than the broad back of a man I loved. More than the image of my friend, cancer-struck, curled by her toilet. More than my regret for the child I did not have, which I thought once would pierce me utterly. Nothing beside that dense muscle, faint gold guard hairs stirring the dark. And if I keep these scraps of it, what did it keep of me? A flight, a thunder, a shield of light dropped before the eyes, pinned inside that magnificent skull only time would release, split back, fade, and reveal. Wind would open him. Sun would turn him commonplace, a knot of flies, a rib cage of shredded tendon, wasp nest fragile. The treasure of him like anything gone. Even now, I thumb that face like a coin I cannot spend. If something in me ever lived, it lived in him, fishing the cold, trout-thick streams, waking to snow, dying when he died, which is a comfort. I must say this, otherwise I myself do not exist. It looked at me a moment, a flash of green, of gold and white, then the dark came down again between us. Once I was afraid of being changed. Now that is finished. The lynx has me in its eye. I am already diminished. Thank you very much. Have a happy and safe quarantine, and I will see you all in the fall.